Hello everybody. It is Tuesday the 31st of December. We are nearly changing into the new year. Let's see if we can create some shifts for the new year. I want to talk about solid reality, and let's say solid aliens, interdimensional beings, the difference between them. It is a completely different perception of the reality you're in. I want to show you this here. And the power of the word, and especially the word in the Bible. Now, I want to start by talking about the kingdom of heaven. And I'm starting in Mark 12, verse 30. And here, Jesus has been asked about first commandments. The first of all commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is no other commandment greater than that. And And the scribes said unto him, Well, Master, thou hast said the truth. For there is one God, and there is none other but He. And to love Him with all your heart, and with all the understanding, and with all thy soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself is more than a whole burnt offering and sacrifices. And when Jesus saw that he answered discreetly and said unto him, Thou art not far from the kingdom of heaven. So the scribe is very close to the kingdom of heaven because he believes as truth, as his truth, all of those things. You should love. There is only one God. And you should love Him with all your heart. You should love Him with all your mind. Yeah, that is your reality. There is only one God. There is only one kingdom. And Jesus says you are very close to the kingdom. And I want to show you how that is. And I've just lost my bookmark. I'm in Mark. Here. I must go to Matthew. And this is something I just saw in a video which actually triggered me into this, I was in that thinking, only this is a good example. Matthew 17. And that is the scene where Jesus is taking some of his disciples on to a mountain and they see him transfigured. Yeah? So that is Matthew 17. And after 6 days, Jesus, taking Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them into a high mountain apart from the others. Yeah? And he was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah, talking with him. Now he also says to them later on, Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man has been risen again from the dead. So nobody knew about this, and obviously Matthew himself wasn't there. So he is telling the story. After a while, Peter, James, and John would have told the story, and now Matthew is retelling it. But what actually happened there? Yeah? So from what they said, those that were there, they said Jesus was transfigured before them. So there was a change that occurred in Jesus. Jesus changed before their eyes. And all of a sudden Moses and Elijah were there. Yeah? That's how they tell the story. And here is, where did the change occur? Because to their mind, the way they are telling the story, the change occurred in Jesus. Yeah? He was changed. And I would say, no, the change occurred in them. It was the observer that changed, not the observed. They shifted into a greater awareness. And in that greater awareness, they could see Jesus differently. They also became aware of Moses and Elijah being there. But the shift, the transfiguration, the transformation was in them. That was always happening. And if they had stayed in the carnal mind, and that's to say in the five senses, yeah, again, carnal is something that you are. It's not something that you do. Out of being carnal, you may do things, but it is in the first instance something that you are. So you're in the five senses, and if they had stayed in the five senses, they would most likely have seen Jesus talking to himself. Solid Jesus standing there talking to himself, which probably would have looked extremely odd. But because a shift occurred in them, they could see something else happening. He was different, and he was actually talking to Moses and Elijah. As I said, the change occurred in them. And again, that is why Jesus said to the scribe, you are very close to the kingdom of heaven. That is, his thinking is already there. His belief is already there. Yeah, that is already how he perceives himself in the reality. There's only one God, and he must love that God, and he's the only one, and his will must be done, and whatever. So he's very close. It's just the shift itself has not occurred, but he's very close. He's very close to making that shift. That is what he said to the scribe. Again, the shift will occur inside of the scribe. He's working on it. He's going toward it actually happening. But just hasn't occurred, but you're very close. That's what Jesus said. And again, when we say the kingdom of heaven is coming to earth, Christians, yeah? Listen to what you yourself are saying. We will be changed in the twinkle of an eye. The change will occur in you. And then you will see the kingdom of heaven. Now, there's something I want to talk about here, and that is, again, we are working on the shift in ourselves. Through our thoughts, through our emotions, and here comes the power of the word. Because it is not only the story that you believe on that will become your reality once the shift occurs, once you are changed, once you have made the energetic shift to becoming that will know. There's another shift happening in Christians, and that is a complete pole reversal of good and bad. Yeah, it's flipping on its head. What we as human beings know as good and bad is completely flipping on its head. There's another change, and that change should not occur. We should stand in our truth. But I just want to show you this here, because if you tell, and there's the power of the word, and that is how you tell a story, and the perception that it creates in a person. Again, the effect that the word has on you. The way the word is changing you. Again, you are that which is changing. You're being changed by the word. So, again, let's go to the book of the Revelation. Let's go to New Jerusalem and tell the same story in two different ways. Now, if you were to just go by the facts, there is something hanging in the sky. It's something large hanging in the sky. It has got the form of a cube. Out of it come beings, and again they are obviously physical beings because they're doing physical things in this world. Yeah, they are a physical reality. Again, you've worked toward that point where you have shifted into that reality. Once you do, it will be a physical reality. So, and they're slaughtering people left, right, and center. Yeah, there'll be blood up to the bridle of the horses. So that's what's happening. They're coming down to earth from the cube and they're slaughtering everything around them. Now, you tell that story to a UFO crowd. Yeah, you would probably say, well, there's an alien craft in the sky and there's armies coming out of that craft. Yeah, and there's full-on slaughter here on earth. We're being attacked, we're being killed. And then your perception would be, that is bad. You know, it's not a good thing. No, it's bad. And we should defend ourselves. Where's the army? Where's the government? Where's the army? Where are the missiles? Where's Will Smith when you need him? Yeah, that sort of thing. That would be your perception, and that would be your reaction, and that would be what you think needs to be done next. We need to defend ourselves. Now you tell the exact same story to Christians. Yeah, and you say, it's the temple of God. It is New Jerusalem that is hanging in the sky. It is the angels of heaven that are coming down to earth. I mean, slaughtering, yes, but it's the angels of heaven. And Christians are standing there gushing. How wonderful. God has arrived. Somehow this is salvation. I don't know how, but somehow this is salvation. Yeah? And His righteous will is being done. Glory, hallelujah. It's all good. And there's a complete flip. And it's created solely by the way that story is told. Solely by the words you are using to tell that story. There's a complete reversal. And that is the power of the word. And what it creates in you. Yeah? Actually, the alien story is the better story because that is what they are. And if we tell it as the alien story, we are actually standing in our own truth. As soon as you use the word God, they're going into a delusion. They've forgotten who they are. Or they have obviously they then have that perception of themselves, we are nothing, we are sinful, and that is righteous and good. Again, depending on the story that you're in and your perception of what is actually happening there. Say the alien story to me is a better story. Because it means we can stand in our truth. We're not being transformed into heaven and all of a sudden God's righteous will is the only thing that needs to be done. Anyway, so, but here we go again. The transformation happens in us. We are working on it. Christians are working on it. Others are working on other stories. We're working on possibilities. And at some point, is what it says, there will be a shift and we will be changed in the twinkle of an eye. Now, the change itself may occur all of a sudden. Yeah? But we've been working on it for years to even get to that point. Yeah, it's not coming out of nothing. And it is something that we have done. We have worked on ourselves. Now, sorry. Let's talk about the difference. Again, about what we think we are and what we think we're in. Whether there are solid aliens out there or whether they are interdimensional beings. And according to, if you believe on the Bible, they're interdimensional beings. And here comes, let me explain this. And I want to bring in another story. As I said, we are not just all working on the same story. Or what it is we think will become a reality. I mean, Christians are in their New Jerusalem thing. Let's say the Nibiru story as another example. Actually, at this moment, a better example. People think there is a planet coming toward us that nobody can see. And of course, everybody is laughing their head off. You know, how can something that is so much greater than the Earth and nobody can see it coming? How is that even possible? And of course, being in the physical, a lot of Nibiru crowd people are trying to explain that in the physical. Yeah? Brown dwarf, not visible to the naked eye. It doesn't work. I mean, it's flimsy at best. That explanation does not work. The physical explanation does not work. But here comes, what if this is not physical? What if there is not a physical body traveling through a physical universe? What if this is created by consciousness? Yeah? It becomes physical once consciousness shifts. And that is an energetic shift within yourself. And then you will see according to what you have become. And then yes, absolutely things can manifest. They can suddenly appear. Then it is absolutely possible. And then you could say interdimensional is a shift, again, in our consciousness that brings to you shift into a different awareness in which other things will become visible that you didn't know in your five senses carnal mind. Now, there is this idea of something is traveling toward us. Again, if it were physical, first of all, yes, you would see it coming with your five senses. Absolutely you would. But if it were a physical, mechanical universe, then this thing coming toward you would be inevitable. Yeah, it would be by the laws of physics. It's driven by something. It is on a certain path that is, again, created by the laws of physics, Newtonian physics, and then it would be inevitable that it would come here. There's nothing you can do about that. But if the travel, the distance it's traveling toward us is actually how much we change toward that idea, the more we believe, it closer it comes. And here comes again, Jesus said, the scribe was very close to the kingdom of heaven. It is within him, it is all around him. He only needs to make the last shift into that reality. And here's the thing that I've heard, again, the Nibiru crowd, and I was in that story years ago. I have no intention of revisiting it. That was not a good story either. But the idea that something is already very close so that it can have physical effects on this earth. The energy is already there before we see it. So it can already have physical effects, energetic effects on this earth. Again, there might be a possibility that thing is very close. Not because it physically traveled a long distance, but we are getting energetically closer and closer to it. We're becoming like it. We're believing on it. We're drawing it in. And here's the thing. That is the last thing. And that is, again, if we are in a physical universe, these things are happening to us. Yeah? There are some forces out there, physical forces that we can do nothing about, and it will happen to us, and there's nothing we can do. Yeah? And maybe we come into agreement, maybe we can save ourselves by just flipping good and bad on its head, and then when something bad happens, we can all be cheerful about it. It makes things so much easier. If you can be cheerful about being slaughtered. Takes the fear away and all of that, it'd be so much nicer. But, in a way, there's nothing else we could do. But if this is created by us, if this is something we are doing, we are manifesting these things. This is not something that is happening to us, that is something that we are doing. Then we are in full control. This is not something that is happening to us that we can do nothing about. We are absolutely in full control. We are the ones doing it. We are the cause of what is happening. And that would put us in a completely different position. If you say this universe is not solid, but it is created by the Spirit, by our thoughts, by our emotions, by what we believe is real, and we will receive our beliefs as a reality. Gift from God, gift from the all. There. You're asking for it, you've been given it. Enjoy. That will put us in a completely different position. So then, as I said, first of all, hold on to your knowledge of what is good and what is bad, please. Stand in your truth. And then the other thing is, everything that is solid does exist on all the other levels. Yeah? Do we need to look out there for something that is coming to save us, that will manifest, whatever? Yeah? Make something that we do not know a solid reality? Or should we look at each other? Should we look at this world because it exists on other levels? And should we know this world on other levels? Would that knowledge serve us? So instead of making something that is not solid, coming from out there, why aren't we in this world and make what is solid not solid? And see how that knowledge can serve us. And that, to my mind, is exactly what happened in the miracles, in the healings. That was, again, a shift of consciousness from solid into another knowing, and then being able to heal on that other level. That kind of thing would serve us. It could transform this world into a beautiful place. Why don't we go that way? Why don't we know each other? Why don't we know this world? And do what we know as human beings to be good. Instead of flipping good and bad on its head and bringing something into this reality that really shouldn't be here. But again, it is the power of the story. It is the power of the word. It is people believing. And then saying, well, because they perceive that something is happening there. Again, being in the perception of there's nothing I can do about it. It will happen. And again, that is your knowing. It will happen. That is your knowing. You know it will happen. Know that you have received it and it will be yours. That is what the Bible teaches you. So really, should we think about what it is we are, what it is we're in, and what the hell it is we're doing? Anyway, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.